Jack gets a whole lot of questions about punch guard devices, how they work, and what might be going wrong with them when they don't work. So he's got a Brother punch card device apart today, and he's about to show you everything you ever wanted to know about how it works. Probably a little more than you wanted to know. So get your popcorn, settle in, and have a look.
Alright, this is your card reader out of your knitting machine, and this is not anything I suggest that you do.
Brother knitting machine, right?
Right, yes. This is a Brother knitting machine. Now, these black rods right here, what I'm going to do is pull one out and show you this is what happens when you take it out of your machine. All of these hit the floor.
How do we know that?
Well, experience has taught us that. However, I know how they go back in. But you see, these black rods are hooked to the bed. This is where the information goes back and forth. And we have a partial card in. I'm going to show you. This set of fingers right here, if you'll notice, the white drum pieces are passing over the top of those fingers. So they're having no effect on them whatsoever. Now, as we engage the card, here it is. Okay, we've advanced the card. Ready? Alright, if you'll notice, this one's in an elevated position, as is this one and this one right here in the corner. They're matching what the card is telling it now. As the drum comes around, it pushes that. Look what it's pushing. It's pushing a corresponding black rod to one side. Now what that has done is passed information. Alright, it's coming up on this one right here so you can watch. Alright, it moves, and now this black rod has moved to one side. That's shifting a band inside of your machine, and it tells all the needles in a certain position it's their turn to go to work. And here we come up on the last one right here, and its black rod, you see, it had already been pushed over. But you can see this rod pushes this, and I'm pushing them back and forth. Now we're going to clear our machine again. We've gone around. We're cleared up. No information from the card. That's because you've gone all the way over there. Now you're coming back.
And it's a blank row on the card, most likely.
That's right. Well, no, now you're coming back, and you've advanced the card to the new position on the card. Now you're going to knit across. That one's moving. As we come around, watch this end one. That one's moving. And each one of these little black fingers is moving a piece we'll show you inside the machine when we go to put it back together. That runs all the way across the needle bed. And that's why you have a 12 needle pattern, isn't that right? Or is
no,
it 24?
It's 24. And
24.
you can see there are 24 rods.
Right. Each rod moves one section, and that sets all those needles up.
Well, wait a second. I say that there are 24, and on this machine and on every recent model there are, but there were some 12-stitch models. And we haven't had one apart, so we're not really sure whether it's the same setup.
I would be almost sure it would be set up the same way because they did not retool the machine, I don't think.
Well, actually, we'll take apart one of my old 800s because it's a different experience, so who knows?
Right, but this is the one that everybody's been sending us.
Yes.
And I wanted them to see, can you see from the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how that works. There, move that one right underneath there.
This one is a Brother 260, one of my favorite machines, although this one belongs to a friend.
And you can watch these rods moving as I move this. Now what I'll do is turn it upside down and show you the connection because, see, one part of these rods is right up in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's reading the card. And when we turn this over, and everything's going to fall out.
It will.
But you'll notice, here are those rods. This is the back part of that rod.
We can't really see. Can you tip it? Yeah, now we can sort of see if you can point.
There's the back part of the rod. If you'll notice, it curves over and it goes down in the front. And that is the part that you're seeing right here in the front of the machine.
Lost one.
Yeah, but I'll get back.
Okay, we will.
But that's what happens when you pull it out.
Lower that so people can see.
Right.
There we go. They can see.
But you see, this is the back of this rod, and I will show you how easily it moves back and forth. every one of them will move to one side or the other. Now the band that they're hooked to inside of the machine is spring-loaded to the left-hand side of the machine. So it holds each one of these straight. But
Are you talking about the timing belt or another thing?
No. That's another set of rods in there. But as this comes along and it moves this one, that moves this to the right, and it's spring-loaded to the left, so the minute we turn it loose, the spring load's going to pull it back.
Let's talk for a moment about what goes wrong with this part. I've had several people say that they found part of a snap or part of a card stuck in this area, and of course that would make it miss pattern. What else?
Alright, here's one thing. Look right here and watch this U-shaped fork right here, and this is what's advancing our card. I'm going to back it up and show you again. Now it's advancing the card every time I do that.
Up, down.
Yeah, and if you'll notice, we'll turn it over. We'll do it from the back side. There it goes. That's this whole mechanism right here. So you've got a spring here that can break. You also have this little clip. See how that's spring-loaded?
I can't see you at all.
Okay.
Come over. There we go.
This clip is what's actually driving the cog, and I'll work it by hand and you'll see what I mean. That's pushing it. But this spring could break.
Go a little that way. Yep.
This spring could break right here. The spring on this could break. And the connection between these two, which is right here, this little cam can come loose, or that roller. Now, a lot of people had said it won't advance automatically, but it'll advance by hand. These are the things we're talking about, is getting in and replacing these springs on here. And again,
so for the majority of people, when the brother card won't work and lubrication and cleaning doesn't do it, they need professional help. Is that right?
That would be my case that I would suggest to a customer, because you see, you're not going to get in here and get to these things with any ease whatsoever.
There will be a few people who feel up to it.
Yeah, now lubrication in these areas, and I've said this to a number of people, you can get the straw down in through the casing.
We can't see your finger.
Okay. You can get the straw down in through the casing right in this area and spray with your LPS and let it foam along in there, and then come back a little while later and spray it again, because this is what's affixed to the bed. Your screws go right in there. So you have this sitting up, and the underside of the bed, you could actually let a little bit of debris get washed down in there and not cause any harm. Now, what you were talking about, FOD, foreign object damage,
yeah.
That is a technical term, FOD. What'll happen is you'll be fine. Then you'll pack up your machine. Here it is. We're going along in the car. You open it up, and whatever that foreign object was is now up in here. And when you go to use the machine, it won't work.
The two most common things that I've heard of are a broken punch card snap that holds it together and a tiny corner of a card that tore off. But earrings and straight pins have also been fans of this spot.
Right. Now, when I took this apart, I took this cover off, and there is a set of springs right underneath here.
Yeah, we really can't see them. I can, but now the camera can see it.
There's a set of springs. Those springs are what's holding tension on these little U-shaped posts that are transferring the information from the card to the black fingers to the machine, and the band inside the machine to needles in certain positions across the bed. You don't want to take this off. I didn't want to take this off. I took this off to find out what was going on inside, and to inspect all these gears that run along these shafts underneath there.
Turns out this one's going to be okay with a little TLC. Nothing was actually broken, am I right?
Yes, that is correct. Now, what happened to this one was, and let me show you, this piece right here, if you'll notice, here comes our stop right there. See where the stop touches that piece?
Mm-hmm.
That's what lets the carriage go all the way across, pulling the timing belt without changing the card setup. Now watch when we come back. Here we go. we're going to go around the other way. And again, that stop right there is what lets this
now
go
the
off.
same information goes all the way across the bed
All the way
rather than
across
new
the bed.
information.
Right, no change until you change directions and you're pulling your timing belt in the other way, and then again it comes around, it transfers that set of information all the way across the bed. That's why you could use the punch card and the needles on this end of the bed, or the needles on the other end of the bed, or the needles in the middle, and get the same information. On this particular machine, this keeper plate, I will show you, I had to put shims, can you see those?
Yes, we can.
Underneath it, because it had worn a little bit, and instead of this stopping here, it was going
It
underneath.
was spinning all the way.
Right. So then, if you'll notice, here's our little pink guy that you see through your cover, and the ears go there when it goes on the stop. And now here we go. We've changed directions, and the pink arrow comes up on that side saying that's the way we're going. And now the pink arrow comes up on this side. That's what you see through your cover, is an arrow here and an arrow there. And wherever the pink is tells you the direction you're going in. So this one was not patterning correctly simply because the stop was not letting the information travel all the way down. This was coming underneath, and therefore it was moving
But
your card.
to reiterate, even though that was really simple and almost anybody could shim this, in order to expose it, you had to get in a position where all these rods could fall out, and they did.
Right.
So that's the thing that even if you're brave and skilled, you're going to need to be aware of.
Exactly. And if you'll notice, here's another feature. This cam plate, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. This cam plate is oddly shaped, and if you'll notice, these little riders have a spring behind them, and as they go around, they're changing their shape to match the cam. Now watch when we come around.
It is an eccentric
Yes.
thing.
And we stop again. You notice this continues around for a little bit, and then now my little riders have to match the shape of this eccentric. Part of that has got to do with the drive here. If you'll notice, there's an exact correspondence between the turn of this drum and the turn of those cam drivers right there. Okay? And I'll see if I can give you the shot underneath.
Oh yeah.
But
I see.
watch this area when I change directions. Oh look, there's a stop pawl underneath here that's traveling from this slot to that slot before anything happens in here at all. Now, this is where my little riders, and you see there's another slot on this side, and there's your stop cam.
Right.
But now my little riders are letting this move freely without having to relock. Now it's got to change directions and relock, and once it does, it'll keep riding in that direction. So here's our drive belt, and you'll never see one like this, even if you were going to
But
change.
you can't see your hand.
Even if you were going to change this, it would still be in its casing, and we will go into that in another video at another time. But right now, I want you to watch right here, this clutch drive cog. We've talked about it, and you can hear, as we change directions, how it's affecting the movement of our card through our reader. And there you have the tie-in between the belt, the timing belt. Many people have asked, why does the timing belt, how does it affect what we're doing? Well, if you'll notice, the belt has a series of holes and then one larger hole, and I'll bring one around for you to see, right there. Okay. And the series of little holes is your repeat for your patterning, and we're going to flip this over and show you this series of metal bands right here. When we had the card reader out, we showed you 24 little rods that get their information from the card, and then they transfer the information to these right here. I'm going to see if I can fan them out.
Yeah.
Okay, and let you see them. Now they're attached on this end of the machine with springs. So when my machine isn't patterning anymore, one of the reasons could be one of these springs has broken. And everybody knows it's the little curly part of the spring that comes off. And therefore these rods, the patterning rods, pull them to one side when the card tells it. That's what sets your set of needles. Then the springs straighten them back out again. If the spring goes, once they've been pulled by the patterning device inside the card reader, then they won't come back again. And here's a spring, that's your tensioner for your drive belt idler on this end. So if something happens to that spring, again, there's a stay bar that's supposed to hold this idler in place. But if the spring isn't in place, there's a chance it could pull a little bit, and then it would not pattern again. But just so you get a good view of what the underside of the machine looks like and how the belt ties into the mechanism, because it's not something you're likely to do, to take your machine completely out of your cover and take it completely apart.
Okay.